Welcome into the Steelers Talk Live Show. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be breaking down the latest news and rumors surrounding the black and gold. Of course, Pittsburgh signed Scotty Miller, their newest wide receiver, today. We actually have a breaking news video on the channel right now, so if you want to check out my reaction to the Scotty Miller signing, you can go check out that video. But today, we've got some great stuff for you guys. The latest Steelers trade rumors surrounding people like Najee Harris and going after guys like Courtland Sutton, DK Metcalf. We got the latest trade rumors for the Pittsburgh Steelers right here on the show. Will the Steelers still go out and get a wide receiver, or is Scotty Miller their answer at that position at this point in the offseason? We'll talk about that. Then also, I've got my perfect offseason plan post-NFL draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got 6 moves that Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, can make today to make this roster better. And then we're gonna get into the Steelers Talk Live mailbag, where you guys have your opportunity to get on the show and have your voice heard. So here is the updated Steelers wide receiver depth chart. Now, is Scotty Miller the wide receiver 3? I don't know. It could be Van Jefferson. It could be Calvin Austin III. It could be Quez Watkins. My thinking right now is that if the Steelers go into the season with what they currently have at the wide receiver position, guys, obviously George Pickens is going to be their bona fide number 1, and he's going to get a bunch of targets this next year. Roman Wilson, the 3rd-round rookie out of Michigan, is going to be your true number 2. And then you're going to take Miller and Austin and Jefferson and Watkins, and you're going to say, you guys duke it out, and whoever plays the best during the offseason gets that honor of being the number 3 wide receiver. I would still love for the Steelers to go out and make a big move for a wide receiver. But let me know down there in the comments section, what is your confidence level in the wide receiver room? Scale it for me on a scale of 1 to 10. For me personally, guys, with the way it's currently constructed, give it a 5. And that's not where I want it to be. You know, I wish that they would have made a move for Courtland Sutton or Deebo Samuel or one of these other wide receivers that were apparently gettable earlier in the offseason. They weren't able to get something done. They traded away Deontay Johnson. And it seems like the Steelers were expecting to land Mike Williams, who eventually signed with the New York Jets. And, of course, by the time he already signed with the Jets, the Steelers already traded Deontay. So they were kind of stuck at that point. They do end up getting Roman Wilson in the 3rd, which is an absolute steal, in my opinion. But right now, you're relying on a 3rd-round rookie to be your number 2 receiver. So let's see who's in the chat right now. We got Hot Rod 24. We got Believe That. We got Blissy. Give us a 4. We got Anthony Fuller in the chat. We got JRP giving it a 6. We got Justin giving it a 3. Kareem giving it a 7. Blissy saying a solid 4. Anthony Fuller's giving it a 6. Alaska Corley is giving it a 7. Atticus giving it a 5.
Wait, did I hear royalty King Anthony Fuller?
King Inzer, we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Anthony Fuller, long time no see, buddy.
Jeremy Chuggs, our producer today. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, 2 times in a row they said I did so good last week. They could not put me back on Steelers Live this week.
Exactly. We made I think it was 1.1K in Super Chats last week, so our bosses saw that and said, let's put Chuggs back on the show this week. Coop's off today. He had a Mavs watch party last night. So once again, Coop is skipping out on Steelers Talk Live. What a fraud. Type boo in the chat if you think Coop should be here right now. But Anthony Fuller says, you're the man, Chuggs.
No. You're the man, Anthony. No, you're the man.
So, Jeremy, as an outsider here, somebody that's not necessarily a true Steelers fan, but you know the team, what's your confidence level in this wide receiver room right now?
I do have to always say this every time I come on live. My mom is a big Steelers fan. My mom,
yes, your mom
huge
is
Steelers fan.
So you know the team.
So it's in my blood a little bit.
Yeah.
If I did my 23andMe, I'd be like 5% Steelers.
5% Yinzer.
I do have to say, I think having Russell Wilson, it's going to be a little bit more interesting to see what you get out of a guy like Calvin Austin.
Yeah.
So I am interested to see about that.
Yeah, me too.
I am kind of, perplexed of the move with Scotty Miller because you do have a lot of guys who are very similar in, Quez Watkins, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, guys who aren't necessarily going to be outside wide receiver threats, but more guys who can maybe take the top off and then work on those short and intermediate routes in the slot.
Yeah.
For me, I would go with 7 because I absolutely love George Pickens. I got in a huge debate last year in the office whenever, around the trade deadline, guys in the office were saying, I would not trade a second-round pick for George Pickens. I looked at them like they were absolutely nuts.
I mean,
George Pickens is a wide receiver 1. He's not a top wide receiver 1. I would say he's a top 5 receiver.
He's not quite in the top 10.
Yeah, he's not the top echelon.
But he's a legit number 1.
But he's not a wide receiver 2. He's a 1B at worst, in my opinion.
I mean, you guys saw what he did against the Bengals last year with Mason Rudolph. Like, he took a slant to the house on the first play of the game. Like, the guy's unbelievable.
I do have to say, I wonder how much this team values Roman Wilson and how they see Roman Wilson.
Well, if they don't add anybody, obviously they view him very highly. The big fear that I have, though, Chuggs, is that what if George gets hurt? If George gets hurt, you're stuck with Roman Wilson as your number 1 receiver. And listen, I love Rome, okay? I think he's awesome. I think he's going to be a perfect fit. But, like, if George gets hurt, what the hell are we going to do here?
Yes, I agree with you. But the one thing I will say as well, Arthur Smith, even though he's bringing in a different offense, kind of similar to last year where I feel like you'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets in an Arthur Smith offense.
Yeah, they like to do those 2 receiver, 2 tight end, or even 2 running back type sets, So
I could see a lot of, Darnell Washington and Freiermuth on the field at the same time, as well as you just mentioned, maybe a little bit of Warren and Najee, as like Warren being like a fullback-esque.
Or Connor Hayward could be a fullback.
Or Connor Hayward as well.
They have Jack Coletto as a fullback on the roster right now. We got a $10 super chat already here from my man Hot Rod 24, Gold Club member here. What's up, Hot Rod? Says, because I am finally able to watch live, I wanted to say I miss Chuggs being on the show. I don't know if he remembers, but I was the last Gold Club member he added before he left. Here we go.
I 100% remember you, Hot Rod, and I just got to say one thing.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. All right, good to see your face, my friend. $10 super chat there. Oh, Harry, get out of here. All right, we don't want another debacle here.
Who knows if this is the wrong timing or not?
Yeah, who knows? Okay, so here's our super chat menu today, guys. Any super chat, you're going to get a shout out. We appreciate everybody that donates to the channel. Also, if you super chat, your question is guaranteed to make the mailbag, okay? So if you want to get your question on the mailbag, hashtag Steelers to put it up to Chuggs' discretion. Or if you want to guarantee it and skip the line, go ahead and super chat to get your question on the show.
I do take bribes.
He does take bribes, though. $10 super chat, you're going to get a raffle ticket. If Kurgan Cold is here, he spent over $500 last week on Steelers Talk Live, which means we are doing a Black Diamond membership raffle at the end of the month. So it won't be at the end of today. It'll be at the end of May. We will do a Black Diamond raffle. Every $10 that you spend enters you into the raffle. So, like, if you put in $20, you get 2 tickets, $50, 5 tickets. Somebody's going to walk away with a Black Diamond membership.
And for our new viewers, maybe tell what is a Black Diamond?
So Black Diamonds are, so we got Gold Club, which is $100 on a single stream, and then our Black Diamonds are the folks that have put in $500 or more on a single stream. Usually you have to put in $500 on that stream to join the Black Diamond Club. You get your own customized jersey that we wear during our watch parties, and you get a customized Super Chat sticker that we put up on screen every time that you Super Chat. You'll officially become Steelers Talk royalty. Now, because of Kurgan Cold, he put in his second $500 stream of all time, which is awesome. And now we get to give away a Black Diamond membership to one of our lucky viewers that maybe doesn't have enough money to spend $500 on a single stream. So if you have $10, $20, $50, whatever you guys can spare, if you guys want a chance to become a Steelers Talk Black Diamond and become a legend for life, get those $10 super chats in. Really do appreciate all of your support. Can we flash that super chat menu one more time? We didn't get to all the items there.
For sure.
So $20, you get your name on the hard hat or on the helmet Hall of Fame for the offseason. It's really starting to fill up with names here. So if you want to get your name on the helmet and get 2 entries to become a Black Diamond, $20 super chat gets you those 2 tickets and your name on the helmet. $50 super chats, Tortilla Slaps. We got the tortillas here. Chuggs can get slapped. I can get slapped. It's up to you guys.
I'm a much better slapper than Sperry. I'll just put that out
there. I completely disagree. I think that it's a lot more entertaining when I get the slap Jeremy. I think that's a lot better. But $50 super chat is the price for that. And then $100 super chat today. Jeremy's going to do a beer bong. And you know what? I'll say this. If we get to $500 in super chats today, I'll do a boot. Will you do a boot? Would you do a boot as well?
If we get to 500, yeah.
If we get to $500 in super chats today, we'll both do a boot. All right. So now, Chuggs, let's talk about this for a little bit. How many games are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to win in 2024? I think this question really does depend on how you feel about Russell Wilson, because like the quarterback is such an important position for the Steelers heading into this year. If Russ stinks, like what's their cap? 10, 11 wins? But if he's good, that could add some wins to your win total. They got 10 last year with Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph. I'm in the category of 11 to 13. 13 is like the max.
I'm going to say the same that I said last week, and it's because you're in still the toughest division in football, in my opinion. You have a lot of moving pieces, so I wonder how long it'll take for everybody to gel.
Sure.
You have a new quarterback and new offensive coordinator all in one offseason. Couple new pieces as well on the offensive line.
Yep.
So my guess is, I believe it's the same guess that I said last week. I'm going to go 10-7.
Okay, so same record as last year. Do you think they make the playoffs?
I think they make the playoffs as a wild card team. I believe they're probably the 6th team in the dance.
Show this photographic that we have on the script there, Jeremy. It's the opponents for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. So you get one divisional game, both home and away. I would say probably get to like 3-3. I mean, they always sweep the Ravens, all right? So if Russell Wilson's good, I think they could get to 4-2 in the division. They played really well in the division last year. But then you get the Cowboys at home. That one will probably be tough. The Chiefs at home. That one's going to be tough. The Jets, depending on Aaron Rodgers, could be tough at home.
Chargers are a total wild card.
I think the Chargers are going to stink.
I mean,
they're rebuilding.
They at least have Justin Herbert, who I think is a good quarterback.
Yeah, but Greg Roman, their offensive coordinator, is not going to use him.
I know, but
he stinks. He's the worst pass game coordinator in football.
And
they have no receivers.
I get that. I think it'll be a toss-up, though, whether or not, like, with a guy like Justin Herbert, he's at least going to help you get into games you shouldn't be in.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert. I think it's just terrible that he's being paired with Greg Roman. It's a waste of his talent.
I think y'all kick the teeth in of the Falcons and the Broncos.
Yeah. We'll beat Bo Nix and the Broncos by 30 in Mile High. The Falcons stink. Well, I don't know if they stink. Kirk Cousins, I guess it'll depend. The Commanders, they'll probably beat them. Eagles will be a tough one on the road. Raiders, I think they'll beat the Raiders on the road again. They beat them with Kenny Pickett on the road last year. They better be able to beat them with Russell. The Colts is going to be interesting because I don't know with Anthony Richardson. So this could be a pretty difficult schedule, a lot more difficult than it was last year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in 2024. But you guys know me, man. I am super optimistic about this football team. I think Russell Wilson's going to play really well in this offense. I think the run game's going to get going. Mike Tomlin's a great head coach. The defense is going to be the best it's been in a while, which is saying something because this has been a top 10 defense for as long as I can remember. So I'm super excited for this year. And if you're excited as well, make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now to get today's show going. We got 164 people watching right now. Only 36 likes. We need to get to at least 50 likes to get into our first segment today. I see Damian Roy down there, Richard Gonzalez, Hot Rod 24. Everybody type me down there in the comments if you've clicked that thumbs up icon. I want to give some shout outs here. Type me if you're a real one and have clicked that thumbs up icon. We got Anthony, we got Leo, we got Hot Rod, we got Rad Doctor, we got Tim Hopper, we got Y Bills Y, we got Cassie Voth coming to us from her car. She's actually driving from Minnesota to Dallas, Texas today with our dog.
Cassie!
We got Damian Roy in here. We got Brock Walker. We got His Highness himself, Anthony Fuller. We got Josh. We got Rel. We got Alaska. We got Pat. We've got Offsides Edits. We got Jack B. We got Jason. We got Michael. We got Zaneta. I hope I'm saying that right. We got Meaty Buffalo, Alaska again. Let's go, baby. All right, we got the 64 likes. That means we can get into our show today. Our first segment is going to be the latest Steelers trade rumors surrounding this football team. Obviously, with the Scotty Miller signing, things are getting a little bit muddy right now. Will Omar Khan actually get a trade done for a wide receiver here? I'll talk about that here in just a second. Our final segment today, I'm going to be giving up my perfect offseason plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers after the NFL draft. I got 6 moves that Omar Khan can make to make this team better right now. And then also our middle segment is going to be the Steelers Talk Live mailbag. So make sure you guys use hashtag Steelers down there in the live chat along with your question so Jeremy can see it, or you can super chat to ensure your question gets on the mailbag today. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We're going to get into this first segment coming up right now. I'm going to take one more drink and we'll get into it.
Glug, glug, glug.
Glug, 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 glug. Okay, now let's get into it. The latest Steelers trade rumors are coming at you right now. According to a recent report, the Pittsburgh Steelers are locking in on a free agent cornerback. I'm going to reveal who that is here in just a second. Also, we'll go over the latest Steelers trade rumors surrounding guys like Najee Harris, the wide receiver position. Could Omar Khan deliver a wide receiver trade even after the Scotty Miller signing? We'll talk about that later in today's show. And then at the end of today's show, I got one move that I think Omar Khan should have made during this offseason that he missed out on the opportunity to do. So make sure you stick around at the end of today's show where I'll reveal that one move. So make sure you guys go down there right now and check me out on social media at Jack_Sperry. I'm trying to pass Jeffrey Cooperstein, our producer here at Steelers Talk. He has been absent from Steelers Talk Media here over the last 2 to 3 weeks covering the Dallas Mavericks playoff run. It's been absolutely fraudulent, so help me pass him here while he's away. Make sure you go to at Jack_Sperry on X right now. Give me a follow and help me pass Coop in Twitter followers today. Okay, so now let's get into our top story today, which is from Ray Fittipaldo here. Reports that there is a quote-unquote real good possibility that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be bringing back cornerback Cam Sutton for the 2024 campaign. This is what Ray had to say in regards to Sutton. I think bringing back Sutton is a really good possibility. Now, I think you guys know the Steelers will take their time with this and they'll let the legal process play out somewhat. They will let the commissioner's office do their investigation, and then they'll get a feel for what the punishment might be, if there is any, and then they'll probably make that signing, I think, in June or July. And honestly, guys, especially if the NFL doesn't suspend Cam Sutton for his involvement in a domestic incident in Florida earlier this offseason, then I definitely think the Steelers are going to be bringing him back sometime this summer, sometime this offseason, because I think it's well documented at this point. You guys know this better than anybody. The cornerback room definitely needs some help right now. Yes, you have Joey Porter Jr., and yes, Dante Jackson was involved in that Deontay Johnson trade earlier this offseason. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot of depth at the cornerback position. Corey Trice Jr. is interesting, but I'm not sure if the Steelers can really rely on him after missing his entire rookie season, after just coming off an ACL tear. Darius Rush barely played last year, and everybody else in this room has no experience playing with the Steelers defense. So the cornerback position is definitely something that the Steelers need to address still in the 2024 offseason. So let me know, and you tell me down there in the comment section, would you bring back Cam Sutton to play slot corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024? Type S if you would sign him and bring him back, or type P if you're going to pass on him. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So now let's get into some of the more recent Steelers trade rumors surrounding some pretty big names here, and we'll start with Najee Harris, okay? And this is kind of from earlier in the week, but I think this is a complete farce, a complete joke here, where rumors have been swirling from a number of different publications that the Dallas Cowboys are interested in trading for Najee Harris, and the Steelers might be willing to deal him to Dallas. Now, guys, this just probably isn't going to happen, all right? This late into the offseason, maybe earlier in the offseason, I would have maybe thought it was possible, but this late into the game, I just don't think it's going to happen in terms of a trade between the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Steelers running back. Jane Slater, who covers the NFL for NFL Network, said on these Najee Harris and Cowboys reports, talking about the trade rumors, a team source tells me it is quote-unquote clickbait. So listen, man, I believe Jane and her report here and her source because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense for Najee Harris to be traded, at least in my opinion. I'll talk about that here in just a second. But first, Bleacher Report actually put out an article saying that they think it's a good idea for both sides here. And this was their trade idea here, where the Steelers would send Najee Harris to the Dallas Cowboys, who, of course, are in need of running back help. They did re-sign or bring back Ezekiel Elliott, but he's kind of washed at this point in his career. Najee would be their true number one, and then the Steelers would get a 4th-round pick back for next year's NFL draft, leaving them with pretty much just Jaylen Warren and then probably Cordero Patterson as their number 2 running back at that point. This is what Bleacher Report's Alex Kay had to say about the possibility. Rather than hope Elliott can thrive as a starter or wait for one of the unproven backups like Rico Dowdle or Deuce Vaughn to make the leap that may never come, the Cowboys should instead be seeking out an experienced but still youthful back on the trade market. Harris started his career red hot, earning Offensive Rookie of the Year honors after rushing for 1,200 yards and 7 scores on 307 totes. While the 26-year-old has eclipsed the 1,000-yard and 7-score mark in all 3 seasons, his concerning efficiency metrics has resulted in a steady reduction in volume. Considering the Steelers declined Harris's 5th-year option, it's looking likely that the 2024 campaign will be Harris's final in Western PA. Rather than lose him for potentially nothing next spring, Pittsburgh's brass could get ahead of the departure by sending some 2025 draft compensation for his services. So listen, guys, my take on a potential Najee Harris trade is that maybe earlier in the offseason it would have made sense before the draft, where you could potentially draft his replacement. Then it would have made sense. But at this point in the offseason, it makes 0 sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers to send Najee Harris elsewhere. Because consider this, guys. If they ended up trading him to the Cowboys, who's going to be the number 2 running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, I would trust Jaylen Warren to be the number 1 running back on the Steelers, and I do think the Steelers would rather keep Warren long-term than Najee, but you look at the depth here, and it's just not very good. You got Cordero Patterson, Daijun Edwards from Georgia, who's an undrafted free agent. I just don't really think that those are options that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be okay with. And in terms of free agency or trading for another running back, I mean, why would you trade a running back away and then trade one back to your roster? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense from the perspective of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I really don't think that Najee Harris is going to even be thought of as a trade candidate for the Pittsburgh Steelers unless a running back is also involved in a potential deal, and right now Dallas doesn't really have anybody that's really worth their salt in that regard. Now, that same Bleacher Report article also has the Steelers trading for wide receiver Courtland Sutton from the Denver Broncos. Once again, this is coming to us from Alex Kay from Bleacher Report. And I like this idea a lot more than the Najee Harris idea. He has the Steelers getting Sutton, but I mean, this is kind of on the higher end of trade ideas I've seen for Sutton. A 3rd-round pick and a 6th-round pick in next year's NFL draft. This is what Kay had to say about the potential of the Steelers landing the Denver Broncos wide receiver. Sutton could be one of Pittsburgh's priority targets in the post-draft trade market. Sutton's name has appeared in the rumor mill frequently in recent years, and a move could materialize now that the Broncos are working to free up cap space and start fresh in wake of their immensely expensive decision to part ways with Russell Wilson. Sutton is reportedly unhappy with his contract situation and has been skipping voluntary workouts. With a mere $2 million in guaranteed money left on his current contract, which expires after the 2025 season, there is reason to believe a split is on the horizon. Having both Sutton and Pickens in the lineup would set the Steelers up well for success in Wilson's first season. given the signal caller is entering his age 36 campaign and hasn't reached a Pro Bowl since 2021, it's well worth giving up future assets to maximize the small window the team has with Russell Wilson under center. So listen, guys, when it comes to this trade idea, I am 100% on board with going out and getting Courtland Sutton. And there's a number of reasons why I actually really like this idea. First of all, you look at the production, I think it's pretty good, all right? It's not necessarily like legit number one wide receiver type numbers, even though he did put up double-digit touchdowns last year with Russell Wilson throwing him the football. Pretty darn good average yards per reception as well for him on 59 catches. So he's a very solid number 2 type wide receiver in my opinion. And then, I think that he's a really good fit for Arthur Smith's system. He likes these bigger wide receivers that can run block. He has multiple years left on his contract as well, 2 more years. You might have to restructure it a little bit because he does want more guaranteed money, but I absolutely think that's doable. And he would be that legit number 2 wide receiver option that this Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver room desperately needs. And he already has established chemistry with Russell Wilson. Again, 10 touchdown passes from Wilson last year. I think that he's somebody that could absolutely thrive immediately in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, and I'm really excited to see if the Steelers can get something done for Courtland Sutton in a trade this offseason, especially because it seems like the Denver Broncos are looking to find more cap space, and it's looking like Courtland is pretty unhappy with the situation unfolding there in the Mile High City. So now, how about we go into a kind of a laugh here, guys, because this is an absolutely ridiculous trade rumor from Fansided here, and it has to pertain to DK Metcalf. Now, obviously, Metcalf has been connected to the Pittsburgh Steelers in trade rumors lately, especially because the Steelers aren't showing much interest in these wide receivers on the free agency market outside of Scotty Miller, I guess. But you look at this trade offer from Fansided, where the Steelers would give the Seattle Seahawks all of this. George Pickens, your current number 1 wide receiver, your first-round pick next year, your third-round pick next year, and then 2 additional mid-round picks in 2026 for just DK Metcalf. Are you freaking kidding me? That is just absolutely laughable. I mean, come on now. George Pickens, the reason why the Steelers are potentially trying to get DK Metcalf is because they still need another wide receiver in their room. So they're just going to give up their number 1 receiver plus all of that draft capital for just DK Metcalf? What are we smoking here, man? There's no way this is going to end up happening. Now, in terms of what I think could happen in a potential DK Metcalf deal, and listen, I've been skeptical as to just how interested the Seahawks are in trading Metcalf. I know they're up against the cap, but Metcalf's a really good player. They have a really good wide receiver room right now. Why would they want to split that up with Geno Smith still there? But I think if a deal goes down, it's going to look more like 2 second-round picks. Get out of here with the George Pickens and the first-round pick and like 3 other mid-round picks. There's no way that's going to happen. I think Metcalf would be worth 2 straight second-round draft picks. It's a little bit of a price, but guess what, man? Metcalf is 26. He's a perfect fit for the Steelers. I think this is something that the Steelers would actually consider if the Seattle Seahawks are willing to come to the table. Now, I want to go over my biggest gripe this offseason when it comes to Omar Khan and the decision-making that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been making this offseason. I'm going to reveal my one big gripe with how the Steelers have handled the offseason to this point in just a second. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. You can go check out chatsports.com/Russ right now. If you're excited about the Russell Wilson era here in the Steel City, you can get his officially licensed Steelers jersey right now on the Fanatics website for a great price when you go to chatsports.com/Russ. I cannot wait to get my Russell Wilson jersey. It's on its way right now. It's going to be fantastic. I might be wearing it when Coop and I go to Pittsburgh for training camp this year. That's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to get your Russell Wilson jersey today, you can go chatsports.com/Russ to get it in your closet today. All right, now, listen, man, I'm not somebody that criticizes Omar Khan a lot. I think that he's one of the best GMs in the National Football League. The last 2 years, the NFL draft has been fantastic for him. I think he has a really good eye for talent, all these different things. But there is a move that they made this offseason that I think they could have probably gone a different route on. And I think that big mistake was instead, or what I would have done here is I would have, instead of trading Deontay Johnson, and again, we know how that trade went down, to Carolina for Dante Jackson, kind of a mid-level starting corner, how about you keep Deontay Johnson and then you trade a 2025 third-round pick to go out and get L'Jarius Sneed? That way you would have Sneed on the roster. You'd have an amazing number 1 and number 2 cornerback duo, and you would have a legit number 2 receiver still on the roster with Roman Wilson playing the slot moving forward for the Steelers. I think that probably would have worked out best. I mean, you guys remember the trade details here for the Deontay Johnson deal, and it just, I mean, looking back on it now, the Panthers just kind of fleeced the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, obviously, the Steelers have high hopes for Donte Jackson. They essentially traded Deontay straight up for him, so obviously they hold him in pretty high regard, and it still remains to be seen how good Jackson actually plays with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's also remember what the Titans gave up for L'Jarius Sneed. It really wasn't all that much. It was a third-round pick in 2025, not even in 2024, and then a pick swap, and then, of course, you had to give him a contract. So that's something that I think the Pittsburgh Steelers probably could have done. And in that scenario, you wouldn't have had to give up Deontay Johnson, who is one of the best route runners in the National Football League. Now, I know the Steelers, they were kind of a team that was like, you know what, we don't want Deontay in our locker room. He's a little bit of a cancer, whatever. You still could have used him in trade negotiations for a Brandon Ayuk deal or to get a different wide receiver in your room. And it just didn't really work out in that way for the Pittsburgh Steelers, unfortunately. And here was the trade details here for L'Jarius, where pretty much all they gave up was a third-round pick in 2025 and then a pick swap. And then, of course, after that, they had to give him a contract. But it was a pretty reasonable contract. 4 years, $76.4 million. That just comes under $20 million per year. That is absolutely something that the Pittsburgh Steelers could have gotten done. They could have restructured Alex Highsmith's contract. They could have restructured Minkah Fitzpatrick's contract. And all of it would have worked out financially. So listen, I really do think that when it comes to hindsight, and hindsight's always 20/20, I understand that. And I understand Khan knows what he's doing. But in hindsight here, trading away Deontay Johnson for a corner when you could have had a much better corner, in my opinion, in Sneed, for a third-round pick in 2025, and you get to keep Deontay, I feel like that would have been the better way to go if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers. And looking back, to me, that's a pretty big mistake by Omar Khan. So let me know down there in the comments section, was trading away Deontay Johnson a mistake? Give me a yes or a no. Now, I will say here, guys, if Khan is able to land like a Cortland Sutton or a DK Metcalf or a Deebo Samuel, and you end up getting that true number 2 wide receiving threat, then I'm okay with it, right? I'm okay with this mistake being made because you still have a good corner in Donte Jackson and a legit number 2 receiving weapon. But if you're not able to get that legit number 2 wide receiver, that trade for Deontay Johnson is just going to look back. It's just as a mistake by Omar Khan. So that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate your support. Check me out on Instagram or X right now. I'm at Jack_Sperry on X. I post Steelers updates every single day, channel updates, all that great stuff. And then for more NFL content, I am at sparedog.football on IG. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more free Steelers content right here on YouTube every single day. All right, segment number 1. How long was that segment, by the way? I feel like that was kind of a beast. Maybe 18 minutes or so?
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Make sure you guys get your questions down there if you haven't already. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chat.
Oh, wow.
What's that?
You were exact.
18 minutes? I mean... Pittsburgh fan 412 with a $50 Super Chat says, let's get it started in here. What am I going to win this week? Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Pittsburgh fan 412, guess what? You just won a Tortilla Slap. So let me know if you want Chuggs or me to get slapped.
You definitely want Sperry to get slapped. So just let us know that you want Sperry to get slapped, and we will make that happen.
And then you also got 5 raffle tickets for a Black Diamond membership that we are going to be raffling off at the end of the month. Okay, so because Kurgan Cold put in $500 last stream, We're going to be doing a Black Diamond raffle this month. So you just brought yourself 5 raffle tickets to become a Black Diamond member. I can't think of anybody more worthy there, Pittsburgh fan 412. Thank you so much. He says, Chuggs for sure is getting slapped. Let's ride. Do you want to get slapped now or do you want to get slapped at the end?
I'd rather do it now.
All right, let's do it now. Let's do it live. Come on. Here comes Chuggs. Let's go, baby. Woo! Let's see. Who is this? So Nathan Glass says, the week we play the Ratbirds, let's break the record. I'm calling on all Black Diamonds to take my challenge. Nathan Glass, it's good to see you, my friend. Okay. Chuggs is on his tippy toes, and he still looks like a child.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay, this is me on my tippy toes. So that's what the actual differentiator is.
I'm not on my tippy toes.
Oh! I got him, folks. I got him. Shout out to Pittsburgh fan 412 for the $50 super chat. Are you good? Yeah. I slapped you hard there.
I know you did.
I got you good.
Next one, you're getting it.
Chuggs says the next one, I'm getting it. And honestly, I slapped him hard. I kind of deserve it, all right? So make sure you get those $50 super chats in.
He looked at me and he said, he's going to get it. I was totally talking about the fight.
That was about the fighting.
I was scared.
I'm so not a raper.
He looked me dead in the eyes and he said, next time you're going to get it.
If you don't know the movie, I mean, what are we doing here? You have to know that movie. Step Brothers, of course. Okay, make sure you guys get those questions down there. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the show. Okay, how are we doing on questions here? I haven't seen a whole lot of them. In there.
We have an okay amount. We could definitely use some more. Okay. Get those hashtag Steelers in, or if you want to super chat $50 so I can slap Sperry, that would be great as well.
He really wants to slap me, man. I mean, somebody's gonna send in like 4 50s in a row here coming up.
It's all gonna be for you.
And it's all gonna be for me. Great. Okay, make sure you guys use hashtag Steelers along with your question. I see Atlantis JP just put hashtag Steelers. Make sure you put your question in there, Atlantis. There you go. You got it. Okay. So make sure you get those questions in. If you got questions about Scotty Miller, about Russell Wilson, about Arthur Smith and his offense, about Najee Harris, will he be a Steeler in 2024 or 2025 even? Let me know down there in the comment section. Would love to answer your questions. We got about 200 people watching live around the world right now. Over 100 people have liked the show. If you haven't liked the video yet, make sure you do that now. Really do appreciate your guys' support. Okay, Chuggs. So we haven't gotten a $50 super chat yet, so it looks like the slap is going to have to wait here.
You're lucky.
Let's get into the mailbag right now. Can't wait to answer your questions. Let's get into this week's Steelers Talk Live Q&A portion. Coming at you right now. This week, I'm answering your questions on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything from the wide receiver situation to Russell Wilson to the offense to the defense, everything. Whatever you guys have for me today, I am excited to talk some Steelers football with all of you guys. And if you want to get a question on a future Steelers Talk mailbag, all you have to do is join us on Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single week, where we have our Steelers Talk live shows where you guys can submit questions and you guys get it on the show. We have the most interactive YouTube community for Steelers fans on the planet. Over 51,000 people have already subscribed to the channel. We are the largest Steelers Talk channel on YouTube, so I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Make sure you click that subscribe button today and join us next week on Steelers Talk Live to get your question on the show. Okay, let's start with Offsides Edits. What's up, man? He says, Terry McLaurin is the future for the Steelers wide receiver 2. What do you think it would take to get him? So I love Scary Terry, man. He's awesome. I think that if he would have had like decent quarterback play throughout his career, he would probably be seen as a top 10 receiver. Like, he's great after the catch. He's got great body control, really sharp route runner. Really a big fan of Scary Terry McLaurin. The thing is, I don't think the Commanders want to get rid of him. He's still relatively young. They just drafted Jaden Daniels, who throws a beautiful inside fade. Slot fade, and McLaurin, that's like his specialty. So, like, why would they be incentivized to trade Terry McLaurin to the Steelers And if they did, it would be an extremely high price, probably a first-round pick. So, like, if you're willing to give up a first and maybe a little bit more for Terry McLaurin, maybe they could get something done. But knowing the Steelers, that definitely doesn't seem like something they'd be willing to do. Then we got one from Hot Rod 24. He says, "What do you think? Who do you think the Steelers will sign next?" I don't know, man. Does trading for somebody count? Because it could be a wide receiver. It could be like a Cortland Sutton or a Deebo Samuel or a DK Metcalf. Once we get past June 1st, it could be Treylon Burks, who's been put down the depth chart there in Tennessee after the Tyler Boyd signing. There's a lot of possibilities for the Steelers, but if they don't get another receiver, I think the next player that they sign is going to be Cam Sutton. They met with him before the draft, and it seems like they're going to wait out any potential suspension and news on that from the NFL, given Sutton's issue with the domestic incident in Florida earlier in this offseason. So they're going to figure out all that situation, figure out how many games he's going to be suspended. And if it's like 1 game, 2 games, or no games, if it's a short suspension, I think Cam Sutton is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler once again. Then we'll go to Sean here. He says, "How would you feel about trading for Darius Slayton?" I like Slayton. I think he'd be a really good replacement for Deontay Johnson. Good route runner. He can play a little bit in the slot as well as outside. He'd be a good number 2 receiver. The thing is, I'm not sure if that's going to happen because he said himself that even though he's not participating in the voluntary workouts for the Giants, that he and his representation are having good conversations with the Giants, and they think a long-term extension is going to get done. Now, you never know with these negotiations. Things could go south, and Slayton could end up being a legitimate target, but at this point, I think it's pretty unlikely that Darius Slayton becomes a Pittsburgh Steeler. So let me know down there in the comments section, who is your guy? Which wide receiver do you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will add this offseason? Or do you think that they're done after signing Scotty Miller? Let me know down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then we got one from my man Damian Roy here. He says, "Deontay ran great routes but couldn't catch or gain positive yards. He needed to go Captain Butterfingers." So listen, man, when you look at his drop numbers, they're definitely overblown. Okay, they are. He had some really bad moments of drops, some really bad concentration drops, but if you look at his overall drop percentage, it was about league average to slightly above league average. So I don't think that I think that the drop thing was definitely a bit overblown. He was always getting open as well. And honestly, guys, like if I have no problem getting rid of Deontay Johnson, okay? But you needed to have a legitimate plan to replace him, and the Steelers just haven't had that. Right now, you have George Pickens, who is a legit number 1 receiver, in my opinion, and then you have Roman Wilson, who I like, but you're relying on a 3rd-round rookie to be your number 2 wide receiver, and then if George gets hurt, what are you going to do, right? So right now, because of that Deontay Johnson trade and not addressing that position with someone in free agency or via a trade as of right now, it's looking like a bad move because you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable spot. If the Steelers end up getting a Cortland Sutton, a Deebo Samuel, a DK Metcalf, or somebody to fill that role, I don't mind getting rid of Deontay, all right? But if you end up having Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, and Calvin Austin III vying for the 3rd wide receiver spot when they should be backups, I mean, I just think it's a huge mistake to get rid of Deontay Johnson if you don't replace him. Then we got a $20 super chat here from my man John Sennett. And he says, "Arthur Smith likes big body receivers that can block. Why are we picking up these tiny receivers nobody heard of? We still need a legit wide receiver too." I completely agree here, John. Now, the reason why they're getting all these guys, if you know, the common thread with these wide receivers, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin III, Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, even Roman Wilson, what all these guys have in common is that they're deep threats. Okay, and what the Steelers, I think, are trying to do here is they're going to try to establish the run game, dominate at the line of scrimmage, have Najee and Jalen dominate this year in the run game, and then essentially bomb it deep off of play action. So they're getting as many deep threats, fast deep threats on their offense as humanly possible. And I completely agree with you, though. Like, yes, you have all these guys that can take the top off the defense, that can be a legitimate deep threat. But you don't have the guys that can bully people in the run game. I think Roman Wilson brings the right mentality, but he's under 6 foot. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's not going to be able to really make a huge impact as a blocker, in my opinion. I think he's good as a slot run blocker, but, somebody that's going to be trusted as your number 2 receiver. I have my questions, and George Pickens is fine. I don't have any questions about him, but I completely agree with you here, John. You need to go out and get a legit number 2 receiver that's a bigger body that you trust on the outside, and I really hope that Omar Khan is still keeping the door open to that. Now, before we get into the rest of this week's questions on the mailbag, I want to have a word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the Prize Picks app today. And use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100 today. And PrizePicks has specials for new and returning users alike for the start of the MLB season. And even though football season has been over for a while now and it's not going to be starting up anytime soon, but the action on the diamond is just heating up in Major League Baseball. Get in on the excitement with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your baseball knowledge into serious cash. That is, if you know ball. This is my actual PrizePicks projection for today's MLB action. I'm feeling a little bit pessimistic today, so I'm taking the less on all of these categories today. But you can go right now to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the PrizePicks app today and use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match to get started today with our friends at PrizePicks. The 2024 MLB season is now off and running, and you can pick more or less right now to make some money from the comfort of your couch while you watch your favorite team play every single night. PrizePicks is super simple to play. All you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and then watch the winnings roll in. Get started now if you haven't already, especially if you know ball. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the PrizePicks app today and use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. You can pick more or you can pick less. It's that easy with our friends at PrizePicks. We got one from Atlantis JP here. He says, would you take a 1-for-1 trade of Puka Nacua for George Pickens? It's an interesting scenario there. I don't think either team would even entertain that. The thing about Puka is that he is so good after the catch. He's so crisp as a route runner. He's not as good down the boundary as a deep threat as George Pickens is. They're different receivers in that way, but George is also really good after the catch. So listen, man, I think that Nacua might be, let's put it this way, might be a little bit better off the field in terms of his attitude, so maybe I'd rather go with Nacua. But George is a phenomenal talent, man, and I'm very happy he's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then we got one from Alaska Corley, or Corey. He says, hello, Mr. Sperry. You think we could still sign Justin Simmons? I think there's still a possibility. He's still out there. I think that he's trying to get a certain amount of money. I think that he waited till after the NFL draft to see if his market was going to heat up. And if it just hasn't, then I think there's a chance the Steelers could land him for really a steal, like $4 or $5 million, something like that. Like at this point, who knows how low that number is actually getting. And if you bring him in here with Minkah Fitzpatrick, that would be the best safety duo in the National Football League. Then we got one from Patrick Starr here. He says, trade Najee and sign Cam Akers or Jerick McKinnon. Cam Akers is interesting. I will say that. But, he's dealt with injuries and all these different things. And I just think that Najee is a much more reliable option that has a lot less question marks surrounding it. Yes, there's a possibility he's going to leave in free agency next year, but it's like this offense for the Steelers this year is going to be relying on the run game. You have to make sure that the run game works for this team to work. You got the offensive line figured out. Jaylen Warren is a really good back as well, but you need to have a good tandem to keep these guys fresh throughout the season. If you get Cam Akers and you don't have Najee on the roster and Cam stinks, you're screwed. Okay, so that's not a risk I am willing to take. I want Najee in there, I want Jaylen in there, and I want that duo to be the main engine of the Steelers offense in 2024. Then we got one from Meaty Buffalo who says, how long before Justin Fields is the starter over Russell Wilson? I'm not sure if it ever happens. Now, I know there's a lot of Steelers fans that think it is going to happen and want it to happen because Russ is kind of on the decline of his career. At least that's the way the trajectory's going. And then Justin Fields is still young and he's super talented, and it seems like he's on the upswing, right? So I understand that based on the momentum figures there, it seems like, Fields is the future, Russ is the past. But listen, man, if Russell Wilson comes in and wins 12, 13 games, wins the division and a playoff game, you're seriously just going to let him walk and sign the guy that didn't play all season to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I think Russ, if he plays well, he's going to get an extension, and because Justin Fields is a free agent next year, he's going to take an opportunity to start if he gets one next offseason. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. What's the % chance that Russell Wilson is back in 2025 starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Put it on a scale of 0 to 100 for me. At this point, I would probably give it a 60-65% chance. Now, there's always the possibility that he's just not good enough and they move on, they go a different route. But I think there's actually a pretty darn good chance that he plays well this year and he earns a second contract with the black and gold. Then we got one from Seth Orty here. He says they should trade for Chris Godwin. I would love this, man. Chris Godwin would be a great fit. He's inside, outside versatile. He's a good run blocker. He's a bigger body, great route runner with good hands. I would love for Chris Godwin to be the number 2 receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The thing is, I don't think Tampa Bay is really looking to trade off their pieces right now. I mean, they brought back the entire crew from their playoff run last year. They're running it back with Baker and Mike Evans and all these different guys that they had on their roster last year. And I'm not sure if a team that's trying to win now is going to want to trade Chris Godwin, even though he's on the last year of his deal. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a Steelers Talk Real one, you watch our shows, you support our channel. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support, because without you, we wouldn't be doing this every single day. So thank you so much. Now we got one from Jeff J. What's up, Jeff? And he says, would you rather Cam Sutton over Stephon Gilmore? So I think it depends what the Steelers want. If they want an outside corner and they feel like Dante Jackson can move into the slot, which I think is an interesting idea, I would go with Stephon Gilmore. He's the better player than Sutton. He'd make this the best secondary that it could be. All right, but if you want just a true slot, you think Dante is a true outside corner, and you just need somebody to play nickel, Cam Sutton is probably going to be their choice, in my opinion. So I think the more likely scenario is Cam Sutton, but personally, I would rather take Stephon Gilmore. Then we got one from Nathan Glass. What's up, Mr. Glass? He says, do you think Cam will get more or less than 7.5 sacks? Talking about Cam Hayward here, I'm assuming. Prize Picks. Oh, more or less. Yeah, more or less on Prize Picks, 7.5 sacks. Let us know down there in the comment section. For me, guys, I think he's going to get more. I think that last year he was dealing with injuries, so people looked at his Pro Football Focus grade and his production and said, oh, Cam's falling off a cliff. He stinks now. And that's just not the case. He actually played pretty darn well last year, and that was with a groin injury, okay? Cam Hayward is still a Pro Bowl caliber defensive tackle, in my opinion. I think he's going to play that way next year, and I think he gets more than 7.5 sacks, and it's going to be a good year for him. Then we got one from Electric Eric. It says, what move, if any, do you think was a mistake by Omar Khan this offseason? So we said in the video earlier this week, I actually broke this down. I think if they fail to get a number 2 wide receiver this offseason, the big mistake this offseason was trading away Deontay Johnson without a plan. Now, I think their plan was to get Mike Williams, but he ended up signing with the Jets before they could have a visit with him, and that kind of derailed their entire plan for this year. But when I look at that trade, you could have kept Deontay Johnson, and then you could have traded a third-round pick in 2025 for L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed's a better corner than Dante Jackson is, and you get to keep your number 2 wide receiver. And if you didn't want Deontay, you could have just kept him in that scenario and then used him as a trade piece to get somebody else, like a Brandon Ayuk or a Deebo Samuel or a DK Metcalf. But now, because you trade him away for Dante Jackson in Carolina, you don't have that trade piece anymore. So I think that was probably the one mistake I would say. But let me know down there in the comments section, is there a move that the Steelers have made this offseason that's a mistake, in your opinion? Let me know down there in the comments section what you guys have to say. Then we got one from Robert Maxwell here. Yeah, do you have any regrets? Then we got Steelers Nation, will Najee Harris number approve behind Russell Wilson? What's he saying here? Oh, will his like stats improve? I hope so, right? His efficiency, his yards per carry number has been very bad throughout his career. But you can say that is because of poor offensive line play or what have you, but Jaylen Warren has been running behind the same lines, and he has been way more efficient. So Najee has always been somebody that's gotten a lot of volume, and that's why he's gotten over 1,000 yards rushing every year in his career. He's a workhorse, and he's got the body type to really take that kind of pounding pause. But, I look at Najee Harris, and I really hope that he has a big-time year this year. He's had some issues in the past with vision. You really have to be somebody that plays with good vision in this wide zone system because you have to be able to see the holes, put your foot in the ground, and then explode out of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how Najee does this year, but it's definitely apparent here that the Pittsburgh Steelers are at least not convinced that he's going to be a perfect fit in this offense this year. And I will predict right now Jaylen Warren will have more production than Najee this season. So that'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and then join us next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you want to get a question on next week's Steelers Talk mailbag on Steelers Talk Live. All right, 2 down, 1 to go, Mr. Chuggs. So you guys know how I feel about the Deontay Johnson trade as of now. You know, I like Dante Jackson. He's fine. He's very fast. He's instinctual. Like, I see why Mike Tomlin likes him. But apparently, L'Jarius Sneed could have been had for a third-round pick, not even this year, but in 2025.
And apparently...
That's something that I would have done if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I would have kept Deontay. And if I still wanted to trade him, I would have used him as a trade piece to go out and get a different wide receiver, not a corner. Like, I just feel like when I look back on that trade, the Deontay Johnson trade, it just seems like the Steelers got fleeced there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things to where we've seen teams do it in the past, and it kind of comes back to bite you in the butt of showing your cards too early or showing your cards of you don't want this player.
Yeah.
It happened with the Cowboys with Amari Cooper, and I think it happened with the Steelers with Deontay Johnson in that they showed their cards that we don't want to bring him back next year. We do not want to. And when teams are like, you're going to get rid of him regardless, why are we going to pay extra for him?
Yeah.
Like, I was talking on my Texans channel just the other day about the Texans possibly trading for Marshawn Lattimore. With a guy like Marshawn Lattimore and the Saints, you know the Saints are about to get rid of him. They literally just, the past 2 years, spent high draft picks on cornerback.
Yeah.
So when you show your cards, when you say, we don't want this guy back, it's going to drive down that trade value, drive down that player's value, and I think that's what happened with Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there. Now, I also think that the Steelers feel very highly about Dante. He's undersized. He's never really played like a high-end starter. Like, he's had some nice moments and flashes, but like he's never been like a true lockdown guy or even like a super high-end starter. He's been like an average starter at best in his career. He's dealt with injuries. I think it'd be interesting if they wanted to move him to the slot because he is smaller. The short area quickness is there. He's very physical, so he could be used as a blitzer. I think he'd be really good in that role. Yeah. And if you can get like a Stephon Gilmore or something on the other side of JPJ, I think that's a really good cornerback trio.
I don't hate it.
And I also wouldn't hate it at all either if they get Cam Sutton. If they get Cam Sutton, who's a good slot corner, who's played well in this system before. We saw it just 2 years ago.
With them targeting a guy like Cam Sutton, it almost makes me think if they really do believe in a guy like Corey Trice, and they're like, we don't want to bring somebody that it's so obvious that we have to start him over him. We want somebody that's around the same skill set, a guy who could be a starter and we think that can push Corey Trice. Because if you sign a Stephon Gilmore, if you sign like one of these top-end guys, they're going to come in and obviously start over Corey Trice. But Cam Sutton, that's a conversation.
But it's like, at this point, coming off that ACL injury, and like, we just don't know if Trice is going to have the speed. Like, he's had multiple major knee injuries at this point, and he's a big guy. So, like, before, like, during his testing, he tested great in terms of the speed and the long speed, all these different things that you want to see from a big physical corner like him. But, like, there's at least a good possibility that Corey Trice not only is not capable of being a starter, but he might get cut. Like if he is not fast enough to play in the league, he may get cut by the Pittsburgh Steelers this year if that knee is just not holding up. And that's not something I want to happen, but at this point, if you're kind of just hoping that Corey Trice Jr., a 7th-round pick from last year that played 0 snaps in even preseason last year because he got hurt so early, it's like, I feel like that is a big stretch for the Steelers. I think that when it comes to Corey Trice Jr., you want it to be a happy surprise that he is a starting capable player this year. Yeah. You cannot rely on that guy to be a true starter for you this year. And I think with a guy like Gilmore, who's a bit older, like if he starts slowing down at the end of the season and Corey's doing a good job in a rotational role, then it's like, okay, we have our guy for the future and we can move him in. Or with Cam Sutton, we can move Dante to the slot even and, Corey can play on the outside. We can give him a rotational role if he has a good camp. But, going into the year as, Corey Trice is going to be our third cornerback in our nickel sets on the outside, and he stinks, and you have no plan B other than Darius Rush behind him, it might be a long season for the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary. That's all I'm going to say. I really love Corey Trice Jr. I think that he could be a starter and a steal still at this point, but man.
He was a psycho.
He was a psycho. He was one of my Sperry psychos last year. I love the guy. I love his skill set, but man, that injury does scare you a lot. So let me know down there in the comments section, what's your favorite cheat meal? Tonight's my last meal alone.
It's also National Treat Yourself Day.
No way. It's Treat Yourself Day? I love that.
It's Reward Yourself Day, but it's Treat Yourself.
It's Treat Yourself. We all know that. So I might be getting some Dairy Queen tonight then. Gotta treat myself, Chuggs.
Really? Whenever you eat at Dairy Queen, what do you get?
I don't ever eat at Dairy Queen.
Oh, okay.
I only get ice cream.
I thought you meant as your meal.
No. You can't get Dairy Queen as your meal. Unless you really want ice cream and you can only have time to go to one spot.
Oh.
If you have time to go 2 spots, get food elsewhere, go to Dairy Queen after.
Favorite cheat meal? I don't know.
Oh! Pittsburgh fan 412 with another 50. He says, I believe in equality.
Let's go!
Get him, Chuggs. Gosh darn it, Pittsburgh fan. What are we doing here? All right, well, I guess we're doing this. Every 50 is a slap, by the way. I got Chuggs earlier in the show in case you missed it. God. All right, let's get this over with. I got him good the first time, too. He's just going to unload. Oh! Dude, it didn't get my entire face, but it got me right here on the end, and it hurt. Oh! I'm not gonna lie. I think that was probably the hardest slap I have ever received from a tortilla. And I've been slapped a lot on this show, folks. That was probably the hardest slap. Can you see it? Is it showing? Oh, it might be showing a little bit. Oh, my goodness. Chuggs got me good, folks. You guys have no idea. Shout out to Cassie, by the way, for getting these tortillas, because these are the ones that are super strong, and they actually hurt when you slap people with them. All right, let's get it going. We got one more segment for you guys, so don't go anywhere.
Oh, wait. I don't think we got your cheat meal, though.
Oh, I do cheat meals every day. I mean, come on, you know my diet. It's like McDonald's, Taco Bell, and I'm still this skinny somehow. I truly don't understand how. I guess if I have to pick one, probably McDonald's. I guess is the place I go the most.
I might go In-N-Out tonight. I don't know.
In-N-Out I love their shakes, by the way. Their shakes are phenomenal.
I don't like the fries there.
The fries suck.
But the burger, it's just so fresh.
Do you get it animal style? Yeah, you have to get it animal style. It's made right there. You can smell it from in the drive-thru. It's just a magical experience.
You got to get animal style with chopped chilies.
Chopped chilies, huh? Okay, I'll take a note. All right, man, we got one more segment for you guys right now. My perfect Steelers off-season plan. Somebody send in a 50 so I can slap Chuggs one more time here. Let's get that going down there in the chat. Pittsburgh fan 412, I know you got my back, my boy. Okay, so let's get that going. So right now, are we good on graphics?
Yeah, no, we're good.
All right, let's get into it right now. Final segment of the day, my perfect offseason plan for the Pittsburgh Steelers after the 2024 NFL Draft. We are now down the home stretch of the Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 offseason free agency, or at least the first waves of free agency have come and gone. The NFL Draft has now come and gone. Now is where the Pittsburgh Steelers can put the finishing touches on their 2024 roster. And today on Steelers Talk, I've got 6 moves that I think Omar Khan can make that will make this Steelers team the best it can be heading into the 2024 campaign. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already, if you are pumped up for the 2024 Steelers season. I know I am. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, no matter what happens, guys, it's going to be one entertaining ride. We're going to be covering it for you guys every single day. So make sure you click that subscribe button and help us out today by clicking that thumbs up icon. So a little bit of a disclaimer here before I go into these moves. This is not a predictions video. I am not predicting that necessarily any of these moves are going to actually happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is simply in an ideal scenario from my point of view as to how I would love to see the rest of the offseason play out for the black and gold. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into my first move here where I would restructure Minkah Fitzpatrick's contract. They already restructured Alex Highsmith's contract before the 2024 NFL Draft, but with the moves I'm going to be making in today's video, you need a little bit more room. Now, you didn't restructure Minkah's contract last year as well, so you have to be careful with how much you end up doing this restructure for, but I think this is something that can absolutely get done with still 3 years left on Fitzpatrick's contract. Now let's make the big trade move of the video here where I'm going to try and trade for Courtland Sutton, wide receiver from the Denver Broncos. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Jack, they already called Denver and they told them no when it comes to Courtland Sutton, but here's also another tidbit here. Courtland Sutton's not happy with that contract situation in Denver, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. The Denver Broncos are trying to alleviate their cap situation after having to take on over $80 million in dead cap for releasing Russell Wilson. So listen, man, my ideal situation here is that you get Courtland Sutton for a 5th-round pick. Now, would the Denver Broncos part ways with him for this? I'm not too sure. Probably not. It would probably be more along the lines of a 3rd-round pick. But again, we know the con artist does a great job at fleecing these teams, at Ryan Poles, Harrison Graham, and the Chicago Bears. You guys know more than anybody that the con artist can pull some of this stuff up. And I think that a 5th-round pick would be an excellent value to get Courtland Sutton to add to this roster and to this wide receiver room that is desperate for a true number 2 wide receiver. And if this ended up being the wide receiver room for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024, I would be okay with this. George Pickens is your legit number 1. Courtland Sutton is a legit number 2. That's good at run blocking, has already established chemistry with Russell Wilson. That would be a fantastic get. And then Roman Wilson, the rookie out of Michigan, is going to be able to play from the slot and play in that tertiary role instead of being thrown into a true secondary role in just his first season in the National Football League. And then Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin III, Van Jefferson, I like those players a lot better sitting on the bench there as reserve options as opposed to number 3 wide receiver options for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let me know down there in the comments section, would you accept this trade and bring Courtland Sutton to the Pittsburgh Steelers? Type A if you would accept, or type D if you're going to decline. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. So another move that I'm going to make, I'm going to go into NFL free agency, and I'm going to go sign Stephon Gilmore. Pro Football Focus listed the Steelers as the best possible landing spot for Gilmore in an article just a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't agree more. I would love to move Dante Jackson, who the Steelers traded for earlier in the offseason, to slot cornerback, and then you slide Stephon Gilmore in there as the true number 2 cornerback option behind Joey Porter Jr., who had an excellent rookie season last year. Dante is somebody that's smaller. He's always played outside corner. This would be a new position for him, but Mike Tomlin is certainly no stranger to moving guys to different positions, and I do think that he would probably be pretty good in that spot. He's a smaller guy with great short area quickness, really good long speed, so he can keep up with these receivers from the slot on deep crossers, and he's really physical in man coverage and as a blitzer as well. So I think he really fits in with like that blitzing slot cornerback role, and I would be intrigued to see him play as the nickelback for the Pittsburgh Steelers with JPJ and Stephon Gilmore on either side of the defense. Now coming up here, I got one more big signing that I want to see the Pittsburgh Steelers make in free agency here. But before I reveal who that is, go ahead and check out our friends at Fanatics right now if you want a brand new, stylish, and cost-effective Pittsburgh Steelers t-shirt for the summer. You can go chatsports.com/throwback to get this awesome, super clean, super minimal Steelers throwback helmet t-shirt. I love that design of the throwback Steelers helmet. It's black, so maybe, for summer it might be a little bit hot, but it's short sleeves. So listen, man, I love the clean look of this. I already bought myself one of these. I'm probably going to be wearing this when Coop and I go to Pittsburgh for Steelers training camp this year. So you can get yours right now by going to chatsports.com/throwback to get this t-shirt in your closet today. So we already added another former Bronco, or at this point former Bronco, in Cortland Sutton. Let's go and get Justin Simmons here and another piece to the secondary for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You might be saying, Jack, what the heck, man? We just signed Stephon Gilmore. Why would we sign Justin Simmons? Well, the reason, guys, is because you would be creating one of the best secondaries in the National Football League with Simmons next to Minkah Fitzpatrick at the safety spot. Plus, you have Deshaun Elliott, who is an excellent depth piece and a rotational piece in the three safety package that we know Mike Tomlin loves to run. Deshaun is big enough to play that hybrid linebacker safety role. You can also plug him into the slot in case Dante Jackson doesn't work out in there. There's a lot of different possibilities here. And then with Minkah and Justin Simmons roaming the middle of the Steelers defense, good luck throwing it over there, my friends. These two guys are absolute ball hawks. They're going to create a lot of interceptions, and they're going to F stuff up for the opposing offense playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be an absolutely incredible secondary if they can pull it off. And because they get Justin Simmons here, I do want to create a little bit more cap space here by cutting DeMonte KZ. Not only did KZ kind of lose his speed a bit at the end of last season, which concerns me a lot, but you can save $3 million in cap by releasing him. And another thing, too, is that KZ likes to lead with the crown of his helmet when he's hitting guys, and we know that leads to suspensions. He's been suspended a number of times in his career. I think that if he gets another one of those, it's going to be a pretty lengthy suspension, so it's a little bit of a risk to keep him on your roster. I love his a presence in the Steelers locker room, but if I have a chance to upgrade this position by going out and getting Justin Simmons at a discount, which I think they would at this point in the offseason, I'm absolutely going to take that offer for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then my final move here, I'm going to bring back Marcus Golden to be the number 4 edge rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, he had a phenomenal career-high Pro Football Focus grade. He had to step in for T.J. Watt when he was dealing with injuries towards the end of the season, and he actually did a pretty darn good job. He's a solid run defender, so if T.J. or Alex gets hurt, you can trust Golden to be a spot starter for you on the edge. Nick Herbig's too small to be an every-down player. We know that in this system. So this is something that I would absolutely love to see. Golden's a great fit in our system. We know that he has chemistry with the guys on the field, and at this point, the interest definitely isn't that high in him, so he's going to be coming at a really big discount. So this would be a fantastic value for the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion. So here's my perfect offseason plan, 6 moves that I want Omar Khan to pull off here. Restructure Minkah, then you get a trade for Cortland Sutton for a 5th-round pick. You sign Stephon Gilmore to be the second outside cornerback option. Get Justin Simmons to put alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick. Cut DeMonte KZ to save some cap space. And then sign Marcus Golden, the edge rusher, to fill out your edge rusher ranks. Okay, now go ahead and grade my plan down there in the comment section. A, B, C, D, or F. Would you like to see this happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. For more content from me on Twitter or Instagram, you can check me out on X at Jack_Sperry or at SpareDog.football. I put up daily Steelers content on there for free, so if you want additional content on the black and gold, not to mention just random NFL tidbits here and there, you can check me out at Jack_Sperry on X or at SpareDog.football on IG. And make sure you click that subscribe button and join the Steelers Talk family here. We got over 51,000 people in the chat right now, and we got a bunch of people subscribed to the channel. Thank you guys so much to all of your support. We've grown like crazy over the last 2 years. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this every single day. So I want to extend my gratitude to you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you click that subscribe button for daily and free Steelers content here on YouTube. All right, cut's done, Mr. Chuggs. So I'm gonna put a 3-minute shot clock on there. If you guys want to see another slap, if you want to see beer bong, we're kind of far away from 500 today, but if we get to 500, we'll do beer boots.
Boot race.
We'll do a boot race if we get to 500.
Boot scoot and boogie race.
Remember, every $10 super chat you put in is one raffle ticket for a Black Diamond membership. So you get a super chat sticker designed just for you for life, And you get a customized Steelers jersey that we wear during our watch parties with your customized number. It's a retired number. It's an exclusive club. Only about 11 people have ever joined Steelers Talk Gold or Black Diamond. So we're going to be giving away a Black Diamond membership at the end of the month, $10, and you get it, or you get in. Okay, man. So let's talk about this for a little bit here, Chuggs, as the timer runs down.
So we have the obvious names. What are some more names on the outskirts that we could see? Some guys who, I know we talked earlier, if you watched the breaking news video on Scotty Miller, you mentioned Treylon Burks, like a Treylon Burks level guy.
I wouldn't be stoked about it, but I would feel a lot better about this team if they had Treylon Burks. I mean, I know Burks hasn't stayed healthy.
What about
hasn't had the production?
What about a Zay Jones?
I think he's going to sign with the Cowboys, first of all. But second of all, I think that he's just fine. Like, he's not good.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bigger body. He's a little bit of a red zone threat. Like, you covered him with Raiders for however long he was with the Raiders. He's just okay. You know, the Steelers need more than just okay, in my opinion. Like, Treylon Burks at least has the potential to be something pretty darn good. Like, he's got the physical ability. He's got the contested catch ability. He's got the physical profile that you probably look for as a true run blocker on the outside. Let me
just list off some of the remaining free agents and tell me.
Brandon Cooks would be fine.
Would you kick the tires on a Michael Thomas?
I would. Personally, I would. I know that the injury stuff is there with him, and he is getting older, but he's a bigger body. He's a good run blocker, crisp route runner as well, and he's a red zone threat. Really strong hands. So, you know, I know Michael Thomas is like, people just don't want him because of the injury history, and he's never been on the field for the last 3-4 years. But, like, listen, man, if he gets hurt, we're in the same exact spot that we're in now. Plain and simply, man. So, signing him only adds to your team, right? It doesn't decrease from your team if you get him.
What about Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
Drops everything, don't want him.
Okay.
He stinks, man. He played well in the playoffs last year, but, like, dude has so many wide open drops. It's just, I can't deal with that.
You said Zay Jones, probably a Cowboy.
Probably a Cowboy and just super meh.
Yeah. Corey Davis.
Corey Davis has the Arthur Smith connection, but can't stay healthy, and when he has been on the field, he's been terrible. Like, at least with Michael Thomas, when he's been on the field, he's been productive.
Yeah.
Corey Davis has been terrible when he's been on the field for the Jets.
Terrible.
So, like, that seems like such a Steelers move at this point that they would go out and get Corey Davis, and they'd be like, he's our number 2 receiver. He won't be for long.
Yeah.
He's going to be hurt, or he's going to play himself off the field. Like, he's just not good anymore.
Yeah, besides that, I mean,
There's nobody.
You're looking at Julio Jones, Russell Gage.
Russell Gage is another Arthur Smith guy, by the way.
Robbie Chosen.
God, get out of here with Robbie Chosen. Listen, man, I think at this point, Michael Thomas is the only receiver on the free agency market that I'd be relatively happy with. But honestly, like, at this point, you got to trade for somebody.
Yeah.
For Steelers fans to really be happy with the way they handled the wide receiver position this offseason, they got to trade for somebody. Whether that's Cortland Sutton, whether that's DK Metcalf, whether that's Deebo Samuel, whether that's Brandon Cooks. I'd be fine with Brandon Cooks. Like, it'd be another smaller receiver, which isn't ideal. You have so many smaller receivers on this team. I'd rather get a big body, but goodness gracious, I'd take Brandon Cooks over Van Jefferson or Scotty Miller. You know, like, those guys are good backups, maybe, you know, gadget players, but starters, I don't know, man. I don't think I can get on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Van Jefferson had 800 yards, 2021.
Yeah, I mean, Van Jefferson is interesting because he is a deep threat. He ran a 4.3. You know, good run blocker as well, so he brings that to the table at least. Van Jefferson is interesting to me. Scotty Miller ran a 4.3, good deep threat. He tracks the ball really well down the field.
Yeah.
Calvin Austin III, I still want to see what he can do. You know, I just feel like with Kenny Pickett throwing him the football and Matt Canada calling the plays last year, there's just no opportunities for him to shine. And he did have some flashes last year. I mean, the Raiders game last year, that long touchdown.
Yeah.
It was like the only long touchdown that Kenny Pickett has ever thrown in his career to someone not named George Pickens. So, like, Calvin Austin is somebody that intrigues me as a deep threat with Russell Wilson's deep ball ability. But you need the bigger body in there. Right now you got George Pickens, but, like, on the other side, you need another guy that's capable of really getting in there as a run blocker and dominating. And as much as I like Roman Wilson, like, he's going to bring the right mentality. He's less than 200 pounds and he's 5'11". He's smaller. So it's like there's only so much impact he's capable of making at that size.
Would you trade for, and I know it's not the 49ers receiver that y'all want, but Juwan Jennings?
Be better than nothing. He'd be better than nothing.
I think he's better than Treylon Burks.
Yeah, I would say that. The thing with him, though, is that I'd say Burks has the higher potential, and he is bigger. He is a better run blocker than Jennings. Even though in that San Francisco setting, you do need to run block.
I mean, Juwan Jennings, let's see.
Yeah, how big is Juwan Jennings? I'm interested.
I thought he was he's 6'3".
What's the
215.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So he is a big guy. That's bigger than I expected, actually.
Now, he hasn't had a lot of production last year in the regular season.
He had some big catches in the playoffs.
265 yards, but yeah, his playoff numbers last year in the playoffs, 10 receptions, 111 yards, a touchdown.
But, like, as your number 2 receiver, and I'm pretty sure he plays in the slot most of the time as well. And that's another slot. I mean, Roman is probably going to want to play in the slot most of the time.
Yeah.
So, like, all I'm going to say, man, is that I trust Omar Khan. You know, I'm not going to give a full verdict on this offseason until it's all done. But, like, time's running out and options are running thin here. You know, and teams know the Steelers are desperate. So, like, it wouldn't shock me if they trade a second-round pick for Cortland Sutton and overpay for him a little bit. It wouldn't shock me.
I could see it.
Could they give up a first-rounder for DK? I could see it because everybody knows how desperate the Steelers are at this point.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with not having a plan after trading Deontay. That is the problem.
I don't know if they would trade any of them, but I feel like the Packers have such a surplus at wide receiver.
Yeah, and like you said, they're all young. I just don't see it. Like, they're not going to let go of Jaden Reed. He's awesome. They're not going to get rid of Christian Watson.
Awesome.
Awesome. Romeo Doubs, but he's not a number 2 receiver. He drops a lot of passes.
Yeah.
So, like, there's just not a whole lot of great options. I would love Cortland Sutton. I would love DK Metcalf. I would love Deebo Samuel. But, like, what are the chances at this point that those things are going to happen? At this point, I would probably say the most likely scenario is that the Steelers trade for Treylon Burks.
So one sneaky name, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to happen. But in a worst-case scenario for this team, say the Texans start off awful. Like, they have the Super Bowl aspirations. They are just awful. Possibly Nico Collins.
Ooh.
He's in a contract year.
I kind of like Nico Collins.
He wants big money. He's only had 1 year of big production, and the Texans have to pay him next year because he was a third-round pick. So they.
And the Steelers might be just desperate enough to trade for him and then give him the contract. Especially if the Steelers are, like, playing relatively well, but, like, they're losing games by, like, 3 points. You know, like a big-time receiver would put you over the edge.
Yeah.
Like, they might be desperate enough to make a move.
I don't
like
see
that.
it happening, but in a worst-case scenario, like the Texans start off, like, 1-6.
Yeah, and I'll say this, too. Somebody said, what about T. Higgins? Not trading him within division. There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. And if they did, you have to give up, like, 3 first-round picks to, like, make it just a ridiculous offer that they can't refuse. There's no way. The Bengals' biggest rival is us, okay? Biggest rival. Here you go. Here's an awesome receiver. You know, the missing piece that you guys need to become a legit Super Bowl contender. Here you go. There's no way Cincinnati does that.
The Bills did that.
Well, they're not in division. And Xavier Worthy, I mean, people are talking. The guy stinks. I mean, I don't believe it. You know, I don't buy into the one clip on Instagram thing, but there's been that clip that's been going around of Xavier dropping a pass in rookie minicamp, and people are freaking out about it. Yeah. I think Xavier's going to be fine. People are like, Jamar Chase can't catch the football his rookie season. Dude, remember that?
Who was the guy who was like, Jamar Chase would start in the CFL this year?
Chris Sims probably. Chris Sims has had some bad takes, man. Yeah. Speaking of Chris Sims, Kellen Mond released by the New Orleans Saints today. Rest in peace.
Shout out Chris Sims.
Shout out Chris Sims. All right, that's going to be it for today's show, guys. Appreciate every single one of you guys stuck it out with us to the end of today's show. You guys are the absolute best. Maybe Chuggs will be back next week. We don't know. It kind of depends on the Mavs and their schedule with Coop. But go ahead, help me out right now. Help me pass Coop and Twitter followers to kind of make it up to me here. At Jack_Sperry, if you haven't already. Chuggs, what is your handle on Twitter, by the way?
At Jeremy Chuggs.
At Jeremy Chuggs, if you want to go follow him as well. So we're going to have a video coming out later in the day, one of our live cuts, and then we'll get back to you guys tomorrow with another video. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We got more content coming your way later in the week. Thank you so much for all of your support. And until next time, here we go, Steelers.